Hello everyone. Today we're going to take you through a chilling story that shook the entire city of Hong Kong and left a deep scar in its criminal history. This is the infamous Hello Kitty murder case. This horrifying tale began in May 1999 when a 14-year-old girl named Ah Fong walked into a Hong Kong police station. She was tormented by terrifying nightmares and the feeling that someone's spirit was haunting her. Her confession would unravel one of the most brutal and sadistic murder cases in the city's history. Due to her disturbing experiences, police were compelled to check an apartment in Tsim Sha Tsui. Inside apartment number 31, Granville Road, police discovered a scene of unimaginable horror. Among scattered belongings, they found a large Hello Kitty mermaid doll. What was hidden inside this doll would forever give the case its infamous name. A human skull sewn into the doll and filled with dead insects. This discovery was truly shocking, highlighting a terrifying contrast between an innocent toy and savage brutality. This was not just any crime. It was a case that sent shockwaves through Hong Kong in the spring of 1999. The details that emerged left an indelible mark on the city's consciousness. The name Hello Kitty was not merely a catchy title. It came from the most gruesome and symbolic piece of evidence in the case. The accumulated information consistently points to the Hello Kitty doll containing the victim's skull. This specific detail elevated the case from a brutal murder to a notorious true crime event. The juxtaposition of a beloved, innocent cartoon character with the most extreme act of desecration created intense psychological dissonance and horror.
Fan Man-yee was born in Shenzhen in 1976. Her life began with abandonment, leading her to grow up in an all-girls orphanage in Ma Tau Wei. At 15, she was forced to leave due to age restrictions, rendering her homeless and addicted to drugs. Her young life was a relentless struggle, marred by hardship and exploitation, ultimately spiraling into the dark abyss of drug addiction. To survive, Fan became a street prostitute and eventually worked at a brothel named Romance Villa in Sham Shui Po at age 21. In 1996, she married Ang Chi-woon, a client and fellow drug addict. The relationship was abusive, with neighbors frequently reporting their fights and their child screaming. However, the birth of her son in November 1998, just months before her murder, became a turning point. Fan decided to turn her life around for her child's safety, quitting drugs and prostitution. She secured a job as a hostess at the Empress Karaoke Club and eventually left her abusive husband shortly before her murder. Despite these brave sacrifices, she faced immense financial hardship, struggling to support herself and her family on a significantly lower income. Fan's desperate search for security led her back into dangerous circumstances. She became involved with Chang Man Lok, a 33-year-old Wo Shang Wo triad member with a history of drug trafficking convictions. Chan was one of her regular clients. In early 1999, in a moment of desperation, Fan stole Chan's wallet, which contained about 4,000 Hong Kong dollars.
While she immediately returned the stolen money, Chan demanded an additional 10,000 Hong Kong dollar fee. Fan, struggling financially, needed more time to secure this money. Her inability to repay this debt became the direct catalyst for her abduction and the horrific events that followed. The biographical details of Fan Man-yee, abandonment, orphanage, drug addiction, prostitution, and abusive relationship, clearly illustrates systemic vulnerability. Her attempt to break free from this cycle for her son shows resilience, but pre-existing financial hardship and past associations made her susceptible to further exploitation. The theft of the wallet, though a criminal act, can be seen as an act of desperation by someone trapped in a difficult life rather than malicious intent. Chan Man Lok, a triad member and drug trafficker, represents the predatory element of the criminal underworld,
often preying on such vulnerabilities. This sequence of events demonstrates how a difficult past can create a cycle, making individuals more prone to becoming victims of extreme violence. Understanding Fan's background helps foster empathy and highlights broader societal issues of poverty, addiction, and the criminal underworld that contribute to such tragedies. During her imprisonment, Fan Man-yee was subjected to escalating torture and sexual abuse. This brutality was systematic and prolonged. She was repeatedly beaten with metal bars, sometimes strung up and used as a punching bag. On one occasion, she was kicked in the head approximately 50 times. Spices were rubbed into her wounds, intensifying her agony. Her legs and feet were severely burned with candle wax and hot plastic, rendering her unable to walk. In a horrifying act of degradation, she was forced to consume Ah Fong's feces and the men's urine. In addition to the physical torment, she was forced to smile and claim she enjoyed the abuse. Any refusal would lead to even harsher beatings. She was also sexually assaulted during her captivity.
The involvement of a 14-year-old girl, Ah Fong, is particularly chilling, illustrating how individuals, especially vulnerable youth, can be coerced or desensitized to extreme violence within a negative group dynamic. The forced smiling and consumption of waste demonstrate a desire for complete psychological subjugation, not just physical pain. This reveals a profound moral degradation and lack of empathy among the captors. This section must convey the escalating horror and the psychological depravity involved. It raises crucial questions about human capacity for cruelty and the insidious nature of group influence in perpetuating violence.
Fan Man-yee succumbed to her severe injuries and traumatic shock between April 14th and April 15th, 1999. Some sources suggest she died while her captors were out, while others state she died overnight. Upon discovering Fan's body, the captors, with chilling indifference, concocted a ghastly plan to hide the evidence. They dismembered her body using a handsaw and boiled parts of her remains, even preparing noodles on the same stove used for her body. This calculated cruelty clearly demonstrated their intent to elude justice and their profound disrespect for human life. To further obscure their crime, they resorted to the most infamous act. Her skull was sewn into a large Hello Kitty mermaid doll, which was then filled with dead insects. Only her skull, one tooth, and some internal organs were recovered in plastic bags. This juxtaposition of a symbol of innocence with unspeakable horror reveals a disturbing psychological detachment and a perverse mockery of their victim. The acts of dismemberment, boiling, and especially the grotesque use of the Hello Kitty doll were not spontaneous, but deliberate and calculated attempts to destroy evidence and evade capture. The choice of a toy, a symbol of innocence, to conceal a human skull is an intensely disturbing detail. It goes beyond the practicalities of concealment. It suggests a profound level of psychological depravity, a bizarre sense of humor, or a desire to humiliate the victim in the most shocking way possible.
Further emphasizes this macabre intent, adding another layer of revulsion. This calculated nature reveals a chilling lack of remorse and a sophisticated yet deranged approach to covering up the crime. This section should convey the cold and calculated nature of the perpetrator's post-mortem acts, emphasizing their intent to evade justice and their extreme lack of humanity, making the Hello Kitty doll a powerful and disturbing symbol. The turning point came in May 1999, when 14-year-old Ah Fong, tormented by nightmares and the belief that the victim's spirit was haunting her, confessed to the police. Her chilling account unveiled the truth, and she led Yau Ma Tei police to the Granville Road apartment on May 24th, where the horrific discovery was made. Following Ah Fong's lead, SWAT officers raided Chan Men-lok's apartment on May 28th, where he lived with his wife and newborn baby. His wife was initially suspected but released due to lack of evidence. Lang Weilun fled to mainland China, Guangxi, after realizing the murder had leaked to the media. He was eventually apprehended by police on February 14, 2000, after irregularities were found in his passport, and he was placed on Interpol's most wanted list. Fan's skull was officially identified on June 3, 1999, using a photo overlapping method at Lockhart Mortuary.
The trial commenced on October 20, 2000, and concluded on December 7, 2000. The three men, Chan Man-lok, Liang Weilun, and Liang Xingqiu, were convicted of manslaughter and unlawful imprisonment by an 8-man, 1-woman jury with a 6-3 vote. The jury ruled that although the remains were not sufficient to definitively prove murder or death by drug overdose, Fan Man-yee had died as a result of the abuse inflicted by the defendants. Ah Fong testified at the trial in exchange for immunity. During the trial, Chan and Liang Xingqiu denied killing Fong, but did not deny dismembering her body. Justice Peter Nguyen, in sentencing the trio to life imprisonment, made a powerful statement. Never in Hong Kong in recent years has a court heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness. Chan Man-lok and Liang Weilun were sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 20 years. They are currently serving their sentences in Stanley Prison. Liang Xingqiu successfully appealed his conviction, and his sentence was commuted from life to 18 years in March 2004. He was released from prison in April 2014. However, Liang Xingqiu's story did not end there. 8 years after his release, in August 2022, he was rearrested and sentenced to 12 months in jail for sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl, demonstrating a disturbing pattern of recidivism. The jury's verdict of manslaughter rather than murder, due to insufficient corporeal evidence, highlights the challenges of forensic evidence in dismemberment cases and the complexities of legal proof. This outcome, despite the extreme brutality, might have been perceived as a form of leniency by some, especially given the judge's strong condemnation. Liang Xingqiu's subsequent appeal and early release, followed by his reoffense involving a child, raise critical questions about the effectiveness of prison rehabilitation, the adequacy of parole review processes, and the ultimate responsibility of the justice system in protecting the public. This long-term consequence underscores that the impact of such heinous crimes can reverberate far beyond the initial conviction, manifesting in ongoing societal risks. This section should explore the legal complexities and public dissatisfaction with the sentencing, especially given Liang Xingqiu's later actions. It serves as a stark reminder that justice is not always straightforward, and that the shadows of crime can linger for decades. The Hello Kitty murder case profoundly shocked Hong Kong, sparking widespread public outrage and discussions about justice for victims. The sheer brutality and depravity of the crime, as articulated by Justice Peter Nguyen, left a deep scar on the city's history, raising concerns about societal issues and the impact of violence, especially on youth. Apartment number 31 Granville Road, the site of these horrific events, was eventually demolished in September 2012. In its place, a new hotel named Soravit was constructed in 2016.